Welcome back to Game 4 of SKT versus G2 Esports. You're getting a look inside the coach's room for G2 as they pick up their second victory of this best-of-5. Carlos, Ocelot, very pumped on that one.
Coaches and owners.
Coaches and owners, exactly. Let's be honest, though. I think SKT is going to be kicking themselves a little bit for that loss because as we heard the casters talking, they felt they had the better team comp. Based on the way the game went in the very early stages, they were set up for a victory, and it all fell apart.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think behind the scene right now, these players are getting, a pretty rough talk, from their coach. And I think them also seeing how they throw away early leads to actually very easy ganks from Jankos. And then they try and go into late game team fighting, and that also fails. We had a discussion before the series started about 80 carries. Teddy is great in late game team fights, but Perkz is at that level too, and he showed that in this game.
Yeah, taking a look at these team compositions, Kobe, dive in for me.
I mean, we're talking about the early leads, right? Yeah. It is Con on the top side. Renekton solo killing the Camille that early on changes the whole dynamic of this game because they're talking about champs like where the first pick Rise here for SK Telecom over the Orianna gives them that mid lane possibility to roam that we were talking about early. This is one of those matchups where it's not an even playing field for Caps, and people are starting to be like, why isn't Caps getting around and affecting the rest of the lanes? It's because of the matchup. Here's a look, though, of everything changing. This was Camille using both shield and E stun early before the tower, plus then he gives Con a way out to get out from under the tower. Then it's the repeat gank here from the Rek'Sai, and this just snowballs so heavily until, Raz, there's a follow-up.
This is the most painful part about it, because if you draft the Elise and Camille, you're really putting in a lot of draft bucks, I assume, that the Camille will be able to carry out.
Yo, look at the minimap right now. Your entire team is playing bot side. How are you overextending as a world-class top laner and throw away your lead? Wunder and Jankos gets back in this game. They had no business getting back in this.
It's insane, because when the Renekton has that lead into the Camille at that stage of the game, Camille's useless. Yeah. She has to actually roam consistently like we saw in that replay to be able to get herself back into the game. And by that point, Renekton will be able to join the team fights, be far more impactful, but we never got to that point because of that cut.
It's a bit of a twofer. While both junglers are doing massive amounts of work to help their laners get ahead, we did see Con with a little disrespect hand some of that lead back. But I want to now direct the discussion down to the mid lane, because we prefaced this whole series by saying expect these two guys to get out into the side lanes and affect the map. Game 1, we saw a bit of it, and it went the way of G2. Games 2 and 3, though, things start to go towards the mid lane instead.
Exactly, like supports are roaming to the mid lane, junglers are playing around the mid lane. Heck, we even have the top laner roaming down in the replay we just showed. I think game 2, we had, of course, Lee Sin, LeBlanc from SKT kind of taking over, making it hard for Caps to have the same impact that he normally likes to have. And then he went for Orianna in this game. He didn't want to opt into a pick that wants to leave lane. So we've gotten a little bit of a slower early game from G2 around the mid than we expected. I thought we were going to see more roaming Caps, and that's one of the reasons SKT are getting some of the early leads.
That's why when I saw the Orianna get locked in, you realize that's the adaptation in the series, because you get to see this a lot in the LPL where it comes down to, you want your mid laner to roam consistently, but the fact is when the support's being able to be there and stop you, the only resolution to this is adding more members to secure the lane and then the pathway. And so it feels like so much of this series has been, okay, we're just locking these mid laners down, or at least trying our hardest
and
to
it gets some scaling in there.
There we go.
Hey, these games have been going much later than yesterday's did, and so it puts more importance on that ability to team fight in the late game. There is a big piece of news, though, coming out of the SKT camp with no games to give, rather. Effort will be subbed out, and Mata is coming back in. So talk to me about this move.
I mean, honestly, if you're looking at the last game and you see Effort's gameplay, especially in the Baron pit, there are just every skill shot missing, flashing at the wrong time, tanking extra damage. It's not that surprising.
Yes, it's the pressure that can get to you. That's why bringing in a veteran status player who can come in, slot in instantly, and then just come in playing his game. Like, Effort has been doing so well as this season has gone on, because of the mechanics that he's been able to provide for this lane, but obviously it hasn't been panning out. I think the pressure's gotten to him.
Final points?
Yeah, I think it's important to highlight that they're not doing this because Mata is a better player.
Yes.
They're doing it because now you are backs against the wall, you're under pressure, and he clearly could not handle it in that last game because, as Kobe highlighted, everything missed left and right.
Using every page in the SKT playbook to keep this best of 5 series
It's
alive.
not going to work.
He doesn't think it's going to work.
This is not the
We're going to a
solution.
3-1 G2 victory. That does it from us here. We're going to send it back over to Dracos, Jat, and Vedius for Game 4.
And I'm honestly just at a loss for words. Mata coming in, this is an insane series. I want to see what's going to change here. But inevitably, as we get closer and closer to picks and bans, even past Mata, is Renekton still the #1 priority? How much is going to change? Do SKT risk it again? Is Ryze still the end-all, be-all in the draft?
Well, what we can say is, what we know for certain is that G2 will be on blue side. They will have first pick once again. In Game 2, they first picked the Ryze, and then they did an early priority on both the Ornn and the Ezreal, which I believe was a mistake on their part, because they immediately hamstring themselves in terms of their draft. They will likely reflect and adapt to that. The question is, how do they deal with this introduction of Mata to the roster?
I think G2 should be infused with confidence, the fact that Mata is coming in. Because Mata was 6-10 in the summer split for SKT. Effort is the player who came in and helped in SKT's resurgence, and I think at really 5 minutes into that Game 3, we started making comments about Effort. He looks off, he looks spooked, he looks, maybe a little mentally broken, and by the end of that game, I don't fault SKT for doing this, but it kind of goes to show you how meaningful that Game 3 comeback was for G2 and how that might be the straw that breaks the back of SKT.
And ultimately, I think it's hard to know exactly what Mata's going to be doing here, because we saw him, and it wasn't great. It wasn't an abysmal performance. Does he go back to the Thresh? Is he going to play his skin again? A lot of simple questions, and the harder question is, what changes for SKT? Do we see that coordination that we saw in the past?
So the thing about Mata coming in is something that Jack talked a lot about earlier on, was the number of games that have been played across the board. Mata has 48 Worlds games. The experience, the pressure that is being put onto the stage right now in a European crowd as well is what SKT is hoping to get from Mata.
And experience matters. When we were prepping for this series, we kind of brought up the old Rocks versus SKT semifinal from 2016 of could this series live up to that semifinal? A big part of that semifinal was Bengi being subbed back in and going 3-0 in that series. He was not the better jungler on that team, but he was the better jungler on the day. If this is to work, it would be a similar type story for SKT and Mata, a player who's basically been counted out, getting his chance to try and save SKT's season.
And now the Ryze has been taken away. One of the biggest factors in the draft so far, the priority first pick, even above the Renekton. Both those champions now removed. Game 4 will be different.
Kiana's open. Kiana is right now the primary first pick. SKT remember Jankos' Kiana from the group stage and think, is he really that scary? But, of course, the flexibility of the champion, it could have just been a bad day for Jankos. A number of factors. Do SKT take the gamble?
I think we see a Zyban, and I think we see a first pick Kiana. I think SKT had success when Perks wasn't on Xayah Kai'Sa. That's what he's been thriving on. He wasn't that great on Ezreal. And you would still expect the Kiana. They're hovering other picks right now. Wow.
The Gragas.
Okay.
Priority for Jankos for the first time in the series.
Oh, okay. So now do SKT answer with the Kiana? They have to, surely. This champion is very strong in the current meta.
It's OP. If you can play it at the highest level, it's OP. It's just G2 said that they're not willing to try.
Wow. Well, we'll have to see what things pan out for the side of SKT. They can also grab, well, they shouldn't grab the jungle. They should actually grab a strong bot side of the map if they want to. Yasuo is still up and available. Of course, you'd be pretty infused with AD damage by grabbing it, but you have a lot of flexibility. But they kind of need to deny it, because otherwise G2 is just going to grab it for themselves.
And now the question is, all of those Yasuo counter picks that Faker has been playing in solo queue, all the games he's played against Genax, going 1v1 in the mid lane, is this where we finally see it? Are they willing to go toe-to-toe with the Yasuo, try to match that pick, see what they can do? Because it is now the Varus for Teddy on the bottom side. To compare with the Tom Kench, they've got time to find something optimal. Nautilus is still up and available.
It has to be Yasuo. Surely it's the Yasuo.
I mean, it's really good in Varus. So much of his damage is skill shot dependent.
we're just waiting in bated breath for those watching home. It's like it has to be the Yasuo. Okay, so what G2 now don't want to do is reveal where this is going. So I'm now thinking about what are the potential flex picks because they consider. They could, of course, just lock in the Elise and guarantee that the Gragas is on support. But Syndra would actually be the Syndra would be the best blind because you can also put this anywhere.
The double flex for G2, the special. Will we see the perks of the Syndra in hands? Mages have not been successful in the bot lane. This could be a game that tells us a different story. Could also be the Yasuo, but one thing is certain. There will not be an traditional AD carry on the side of G2. And the Tahm Kench from SK Telecom T1 would make a lot of sense, but it looks like instead it will be the Nautilus, willing to pick the more aggressive option for Mata.
Yeah, I can potentially see not going Kench against Gragas, but it is very aggressive and will make it very hard for Teddy to stay alive in this game. Oftentimes, it feels like Varus Kench are a little bit joined at the hip because of the low mobility in the mid and late game.
Bans now coming through for SKT. You would imagine they want to... Well, junglers is likely what you would ban away. Oh, but they're actually thinking that this is still, right now, the Gragas in the jungle. They're playing...
Yeah.
And they want to try and limit the number of support options, but my guess is... So, the only reason why I could see...
I don't care if you're wrong. We're both going to be
The
wrong.
only reason why I could see SKT banning away the supports is because they have something prepared for Syndra mid. So they're saying, okay, if you're going to lock in Syndra, we have a counter pick for Syndra mid, which means we're going to force you into it bot, which means you can't put the Gragas support.
Vedius. Predator Rumble.
No.
But also...
Why not?
I just don't think G2 play it. I don't think they play
SKT will play it. They have Kiana. It's the Rumble Kiana.
There have been questions about which teams have been scrimming which teams. Is it a possibility?
You're right. It could be Predator Rumble.
I mean, Faker interviews from the past said he could play every single champion in the game at a competitive level. It's a few years outdated, that statement. He might not believe it anymore, but it's time to find out. Last time G2 did ban both champions that were perceived as Kled counters. We don't know if SK Telecom T1 will give it to Khan, but that could be the setup that we're in once again, but instead it will be the LeBlanc banned away.
If they're going to do the Predator Rumble, it doesn't have to be here, but they do have to start saying what their solo laners would be. Renekton banned, so Khan will be on something new this game, and his champion pool beyond Renekton has been the most varied so far this year. And this would mean, if they lock it, would mean a Kiana in a solo lane.
Yep.
It looks like that will be the case.
Okay, so it's Kiana mid, probably. That's the assumption I'm making right... Wow.
Instant lock-in. I think they might have been ready for that one, folks.
So they're just going for the safe top lane. The expectation was initially that it could have been a Kled based on the bans, but now SKT, do they want to go for a hard carry split push top laner? They could lock in the Fiora for themselves if they wanted to.
Ooh, instead.
Just AP damage.
Oh, I'm quite a fan of this as well.
They need
Great
magic
team
damage.
fighting. Like you have Vlad, you have Kiana, you have Nautilus, Varus, like... You have the early game transition with the Elise as well. The only other thing they could do is flex the Vladimir into mid lane, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Maybe it's just the stakes of these series, but I'm just fascinated by these drafts. It's champions we've seen before, but the order in which they're getting picked and how much time G2 and SKT are taking to plot out every single move here. The fact that G2 didn't want this game to be about their ability to play Kiana, but instead was actually, no, you take the Kiana because we are putting a higher priority on getting Gragas Yasuo for ourselves. They again bring back the flex picks. They have that Perks Mickey Yasuo Gragas lane. I just can't wait for this.
And this is going to be an explosive early game because the pairing of Elise Kiana is simple, straightforward, point-and-click gank setup. But Syndra should have priority in the mid lane. The Olaf, what can Jankos do to stop Klid from getting anything done? And what does Mata look like in match point for G2? Can he show up when it matters most?
Well, I think Mata will be one of the most important aspects in this early game. Remember that every game G2 have played against a Yasuo Gragas, they've tried to set up a dive. You could not ask for a better dive comp than what you are getting from the side of SKT. The Elise, the potential Vlad TP, I'd be surprised if they used it early, but with a Kiana with her CC setup as well, SKT should be looking to attack that bot lane early.
The biggest question will be whether or not Faker can get out of lane.
Yes.
Because the Syndra early should have the range advantage and the push advantage on the Kiana.
And if push comes to shove, is Faker willing to sacrifice his own lane, willing to give up CS to make a play that's outside of the textbook, to go do something crazy? Can SKT find that clutch engage that we've seen from Kiana's at so many different moments? The Varus, the Kiana, the Vladimir together can delete a team in an instant. But it all comes down then to setup.
Yeah. We're in it. This is match point for G2. This is either G2 crushing through 2 Korean powerhouses on their way to meet FPX in the final, or it's Mata coming back after Effort, his replacement, has a bad game, and rescuing SKT's season. I can't wait.
And when you look at it, it is the best player of all time on the most accomplished organization in League of Legends history, toe-to-toe with the best team that Europe has ever produced and may ever produce. This is a first, the first truly successful European super team.
And yes, a European team was in finals last year, but the expectations set before G2 were so much higher this year. For them to show up in this way, be 2-1 up on SKT, ready to take that spot in the final, is incredible.
This is it, boys.
Do. And a bit of a delay, of course, getting into game.
Oh, you two are so inspirational.
Right,
I
we were
was
just-
I was captivated by you.
Do we want to? As long as we got a little. Oh, well, hold on. Looks like we
just
made
a
it
long
in.
loading screen for some reason.
There you go.
All right, back into the
Even
dramatic talk.
the client was like, oh, this guy's-
It's like, I need a breather.
I need to take a break there.
But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be jumping onto Summoner's Rift for Game 4. SKT are nowhere near down and out. Jack, we talked at length about how SKT should have won that last game. Execution in the final team fight alone could have swung the game back in SKT's favor, and you should not count them out just because they did not win.
And the operative word there is should. And it's a word that, as a fan and as an analyst, I constantly struggle with.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the team that won is the team that should have won. If you base it down to its most basic level, there are mistakes that SKT made, but their team play fell apart
You're right.
down the stretch in that
And
game.
I mean, individuals made a number of mistakes. Teddy's ultimate in the fights, we talked at length about effort, and even Faker, his positioning on the map.
Yeah, because I don't disagree with you. There were so many things that SKT should have done to win that game, but since they didn't do them, that's why we're here. That's why SKT is facing elimination against the LEC powerhouse in G2.
As we see G2 potentially group for late invade, one stat that further kind of colors this series. So the sweeper coming out from Mickey. We'll hold that thought. Could see a level 1 fight. SKT willing to match it, of course, is Hail of Blades Yasuo, much stronger at level 1 than, say, the Conqueror. Looks like
So this is very important because G2, let's not forget, when they first played against the Yasuo bot lane in Game 2, they tried to make this invade happen. The mistake they made was disrespecting SKT's early vision. They got caught, they got collapsed, it hurt their whole game plan. Now, the thing about Olaf is he is incredibly fast, clearing through the jungle. I'm curious as to how Clid answers. I like what he's doing. He should be looking to split the map himself, and he's going straight towards the blue buff. But this gives the Yasuo bot lane a lot of freedom, so that he does not have to run the risk of getting ganked in the early game.
And it's great. You can vertical your Yasuo Gragas so they can play as aggressively as possible. It's the reverse of having to eat a 15 or 20 CS advantage early. They can actually push in fairly freely and trade aggressively.
And that's what you're seeing now. Perk's not going to be a part of the trades, but Mickey feeling pretty comfortable so far. Teddy always has to respect the potential for a tornado. We'll manage to connect there.
Look at the state of the wave right now. With the health difference... Oh, they're actually going in.
Exhaust going in. Teddy has to flash out to safety instantly. Halo Blade's doing so much work. Mickey now stepping forward. The Ignite goes down. Perks, the heal isn't enough. Yanko's coming over the wall. The Axe! First blood for G2.
And the G2 bottom lane show SKT how it is done. They know where the enemy jungler is. They have all the information in the world. They burn all of the summoner spells from Teddy, and Perks shuts down Teddy.
Massive start for G2. They attack Mata in his first game of the semifinals this world. They know exactly where to go. They know exactly how to do it, and they get it done.
Look at top lane though. Clid is in the top side of the map. Wonder is overextended.
But it's a level 3 Vladimir. Like, it's fine. He can just be up there.
I mean, you're right.
And additionally, it doesn't get any easier because Wonder can just opt for the Abyssal Mask early on. They're both magic damage. But as we look back at this one, you can see Hail of Blaze allowing Perks to get out multiple Qs so rapidly. Goes back, Tornado confirmed, easy to land. The heal buys him time, but Flash Axe.
I don't think G2 actually expected to get a kill there. I think they wanted to force an all-in just to get a bunch of Summoner Spells and set it for a dive a little bit later on. But the moment Mickey saw the window where Mata actually engaged onto Perks, he could jump on top of Teddy and actually burst him out, giving G2 the ability to find that first blood.
And something I want to put on both your guys' minds is, one, when G2 have won game 1 in a series, it has never gone to game 5. They've always won in 4 or less. It's a lot of 3-0s, a lot of confident wins.
Okay.
Additionally, what we've seen from G2 very often in the final games of their series is that they download their opponent and they obliterate them. Now, this is 1 kill, but the question I want you to keep in mind as we get further, if G2 start to pull further and further ahead, is this something that we can just say is G2's specialty, is blowing people out in these final games?
I think that's going to be a question. We've also not seen a game 5. In the whole knockout stage, game 4 has ended up being the decider, and G2 also seems to be this team that is impervious to SKT's aura that they used to hold in these best-of-5 series. G2 are the ones to hand SKT. SKT's only best-of-5 defeat all year. That was at the MSI semifinal, and here they look to do it again. Great win wall.
The reaction speed from Perks. That was an Umayan play if I've ever seen one, as he's able to mitigate the gank coming down from SKT. They're forced to back off, and you can see how the wave is just in an awkward spot for Teddy.
Wonder doing what he can on the top side. Still trading back well with Khan. Khan can obviously provide a decent amount of wave pressure, but not a whole lot of kill threat up against the Ornn, who just rushed the Negatron.
And the 5-minute Ocean. It couldn't get any better for G2 right here, as Jankos is ready to do that with the bot priority. And the full river control.
2 waves up on a Yasuo Gragas lane against an enemy AD carry. The TP is going to come through from Syndra.
They want a match.
That's going to be big. Jankos is just going to get 1 shot. Perfect punish for Cliff. Caps now moving in on Faker. Moving in on Caps, rather. Con TP's down. This is a big turn for SKT. They will not just be run over. They will match G2 for the Drake, and they will take the Ocean for themselves.
Excellent punish coming out from Clid. He knows what Jankos is up to. He's seen these Olaf plays before, and he recognizes, wait a minute, Perks and Mickey actually haven't left the lane yet. Syndra is back in base. We get to move first, so they do. The only problem for SKT is Khan TP'd into that play. He got nothing for it. Meanwhile, the Ornn set up a bit of a freeze in the top lane, and he's just going to get all this free farm, while Khan is left to get nothing.
That's still the type of play that we've seen time and time again in this series, where just as we're starting to have the discussion about this early game advantage potentially leading to a snowball, we see the counter. Clid with exactly the right timing, as Vedius mentioned, punishing it. And I think as far as a Vladimir using a teleport into the Ornn matchup, Ornn's not the type to punish that. So just an amazing thing for SKT just happened.
And I think it's important to remember, while this bot lane play has gone great for G2, I'm looking at how the rest of the game plays out. And of course, you're looking at an Ornn ultimate into a Yasuo ultimate, and you're like, okay, G2's team fighting comp is pretty solid.
Yep.
But Vladimir Kiana is no slouch either. If you fight around Baron, or if you fight in the right place, there is a very easy opportunity for you to be able to win out on these team fights. The big thing you have to play around is the win wall, because the win wall can interrupt things like the Kiana ultimate, can mitigate a lot of the damage that comes out from the side of SKT, and these late game fights will be very execution reliant.
You see Perks pulling back, and I think the thing that G2 are going to have to respect is Faker on this Kiana. He has the Moby boots. This champion moves across the map like wind. She is so incredibly fast. They have to see what Faker gets done. For now, he's locked into mid lane by Caps by the constant pushing threat of this Syndra. But if he gets out, if we see those clutch Kiana ultimates that have been there all across the tournament, the reason this champion is banned so much, SKT have an easy route back into the game.
Where can he move with those Moby boots will be the big question.
Mickey.
As that's the second time Mickey's just kind of very narrowly avoided death with a well-timed body slam.
I like that SKT is sending their jungler bot to provide cover for Teddy and Mata so they can push out this wave. I think that they might be looking for a reset now that their summoner spells are back up.
They can step forward here, but Teddy and Mata really aren't in range. Just a bit of poke down onto Mickey.
Oh, they're actually threatening a dive. I like this a lot more. We talked about how strong this dive comp actually is. No TP on Khan, but no TP on Wonder either. So SKT just going to take some plates for now.
Faker got spotted both times on that control ward, which is a big boon for G2 to be able to step back up. They don't have deep enough vision into the G2 jungle. I love that control ward right next to G2's red buff.
And now with perks at level 6, the power dynamic might shift a little bit here on the bottom lane. Teddy and Mata have the safety of range with a few more levels under their belt, but the Yasuo ult, the threat and the follow-up as Mickey gets closer to 6 as well, means they're going to have to make sure not to get caught out by the exhaust Yasuo. And once again, a very tense game. It felt like G2 were pulling ahead. A beautiful response from Clid on that dragon. And now we are into an even game state. A few plates even going in the favor of Teddy to make sure that he can sit more comfortably in this lane.
Remember that G2, their comp is not about snowballing early. The Yasuo is very item reliant. Ooh, good flash from Teddy.
Comes out. Windwall to stop any follow-up. Mata now has to retreat, but Spider knots his way back to the tower.
And Jankos just recognizing the wave is pushing bot. He can come in for a play. With the knock-up onto Teddy, they might have been able to find a kill, but as we mentioned, good flash from him. Now Jankos going to face check, or not.
Oh, wow.
Good use of the axes there.
Okay.
And a level 6 Olaf is relatively scary to jump on if you don't get the clean one-shot, since he can just void the CC and then return fire.
Looks like G2 is just setting up for the Drake for now. They've kind of left top lane on an island. Both TP. Oh, wow. So Wonder had Ignite, and I thought that he may overcommit. He may actually go for an all-in there, but decided against it. He does, of course, have the ultimate, and look at the roam from Faker. He has his eyes set on top. Wonder going for the all-in.
He thinks he has the all-in. He needs to go in on Con. If he's going to kill him, he needs to kill him now. Con flashes back to safety. Faker not going to connect on the ultimate. That's massive. Still, though, the Ignite's ticking down. Wonder will drop, but that could have been everything.
Actually, a bit of a misplay by Faker there, which is odd to say. You should always start that gank with an EQ because it'll auto-acquire the Water Blade. So Faker shouldn't have a chance to miss the ultimate, but still gets the kill with the Ignite, and that's a big play, being able to find a roam.
A lot of trading in terms of summoner spells up towards the top lane, and ultimately Khan does get away with this one. You could see, with the Ignite available on Wonder and knowing that the pool has a very long cooldown, he wants to try and force this play. Wonder recognizes that even if he flashes after Khan, he's probably not going to be able to chase him down. So he tries to get away from Faker, but he's not able to do it. And as you mentioned, Jat, while there was a slight misexecution from the side of Faker, he still ultimately gets what he wants.
And Teddy, ultimate could come out. Mata continuing to step forward. G2 have to feel like they might have sniffed this one out, though, with how forward Mata and Teddy are playing.
Even with sniffing it out, though, SKT need to be able to get this wave into the turret if they don't want to get denied, because I think they'd still lose a 3v3. They definitely lose a 4v3, so really good timing on G2's roam here.
We don't have vision. Is Elise still in the brush? That's going to be the ulti now coming out. The Windwall can't immediately follow. The perks might just get bodied down. The ultimate coming up the bars is huge. Teddy is not going down quite yet, but they're going to be able to grab the kill on the back of the Olaf. Khan in the midst of the entire team will just be forced to retreat. Faker now coming down. The Kiana's now coming in. G2 are now locked down under the tower. Where's the Kiana going to go? Dashing in. That's going to be one. Invisible with the grass blade. Can pick up another one to go through. Faker cleaning up this fight as Khan runs forward. Tides of blood will not be necessary. Captain Wonder forced to back off.
Excellent answer from SKT. Clid does not crack under the pressure and just lies in wait. The moment that Teddy gets ultimate, that is when SKT strike. With a big team fight win, they can convert this into a Drake and claim control over the gold lead.
And Mata as well, still deathless despite the relentless assaults of G2 on this bottom lane. While SKT wasn't there at the start of the fight, they were definitely there at the end of it. And the 2-0-1 Kiana. How many times have we seen a few early kills on a Kiana just end a game? We'll have to see what Faker can do with this lead.
2K gold in his back pocket can complete his first lethality item as we look back at this replay.
And here we see again, Clid, recognizing all these people were coming, just waits. He turns his attention immediately to perks, but the damage is already done. He's CC'd, he's locked up, and while that was a great flash knockup from Mickey, G2 is doing everything in their power to try and turn this in their favor, but the TP comes in from Khan. The roam comes down from Kiana. And this overcommitment here is ultimately what costs G2, because you can see Jankos gets dragged into the tower, Khan mitigates all of the damage, and that buys enough time for Faker to then arrive.
Beautiful grass blade after dashing in as well to make it so fire couldn't be returned. But during the replay, we saw Jankos get the Rift Herald, keeping the tempo up as fast as possible.
And Faker, not a lot of resistances to his name. Has to respect the potential for him to just get bursted by Caps, especially as now he'll back off and should be able to complete the loot-in shortly. Wonder and Khan have taken up home on the bottom side of the map as the Yasuo Gragas will match top side for SKT. And in this game, SKT actually pulling ahead. Only about 600 in their favor, but the double Ocean as well is going to make a lot of their lives much easier if we stay in standard lanes.
And it also doesn't seem to matter who G2 is playing against. they will have more gold from minions than the other team. It was their best stat leading into the quarterfinals, and I think it is their best stat now in terms of the ability for people to leave some of their lanes to create a larger denial somewhere else. In this particular game, it was the roams bottom and the vertical jungling that gave them most of their CS advantage, but across the board, Ornn, Syndra, and Yasuo all up on CS against SKT.
That's good. That's something that's going to buy them more as they get later into the game. Perkz, though, has to respect, has to be careful. Can win wall a lot, but he can't win wall everything.
The player I'm looking at in this game a lot is Khan. I think that in the laning phase, yes, that could have been a bad trade, but of course Faker with a good roam up. And he is yet to die. Sure, he doesn't have a CS advantage against the Ornn, but this man actually sits on a 1,000 gold lead right now. The Kleptomancy has done him a lot of favors. He was involved in the plays down in the bot lane, contributing to a lot of SKT's early kills. And when we think about the team fight power of SKT, all of it is going to come from this Vladimir. He has so much damage later on into the game. He is the insurance, the follow-up from the crowd control that Faker's ultimate can provide. He is the man that will be able to win out on many of these 1v1s later into the game. So Khan, a player that we've talked about a lot this series, will be very important if SKT want to win.
Capsule trying to pull it back, but the lock-up is guaranteed. That means the follow-up is there, and down goes Caps. Clean kill pickup from the side of SKT.
It's a lot of crowd control that they're bringing. One thing that we didn't get to talk about was the fact that Caps didn't bring Cleanse in this matchup, so anytime they start with that type of CC chain, unless the rest of G2 is there to fight, Caps would die. And that's exactly what we see SK do there. Mata just, I think, Hex flashes in range for his ultimate, and the follow-up was pretty easy for SKT.
Certainly was.
Ulti comes out, call the Forge God. Who's it going to find? Perkz, not going to opt to follow up there. Just trying to bully out, just trying to threaten SKT. They got priority over the mid wave. What are they going to do with it? Now moving up to top side, clearing out a little bit of this SKT vision, but G2 do not want to stay too long for a play here. They've fallen too far behind to overcommit for anything.
Well, it's still not the end of the world for G2. The scaling on their side is still very solid.
Also the fact that they're, one game away from the finals. I feel like that would mean it's not the end of the world.
That's also true.
Just in the context of the game. Context of the series, fine.
But it's still early on. Jat, we're 15 minutes in. This is probably the most convincing early game advantage I think we've seen one team have at 15 minutes.
Yep.
And a lot of it has come off of punish play from the side of SKT. Now, the gold gap, of course, is still only 1K, but as we mentioned, it's important to recognize where the gold is, and a lot of it does sit on Khan. But for G2, a lot of their gold sits on top of Perkz. A player who came up clutch in the last game, a player who did not die, who has earned the title of Umayan, which is now a thing. And
you want to explain it?
So, to give a small bit of context, as long as Faker doesn't try to all in here, Perkz randomly needed a name for his ult.
Hold that thought.
You're good.
Perkz randomly needed a name for his ult. He randomly found Umayan, thought it was cool, and it stuck. And then he climbed up solo queue so quickly, he started making these jokes about how Umayan is coming to revolutionize AD carry, and it stuck with the fans. That's why when people say Perkz deactivated, Umayan activated, they're talking about the version of Perkz which just seems unstoppable.
LEC memes for dummies with Vedius. The game starts at level 1, Vedius. That's the important.
That is
no
the
more
key.
farming and waiting for late in the world of Umayan.
Yeah, and what we're seeing again, actually, is just SKT making a move for Ocean Drake, and what looks to be G2 just trying to get lane pressure as much as possible. So this prioritization of CS and experience rather than a 17-minute Ocean Drake, which honestly isn't that beneficial for G2 one way or the other. It's really about how they've stayed in most of these games is through just good CS on the side. There's Faker.
Locked up, stunned down. That's a Kiana. That's what she does. Ignite is forced out. That's a little bit of a boom, but it costs the flash and the exhaust of Perkz to get it.
So we've been talking a lot about Perkz, but Faker is the player we need to bring everyone's attention back to, because as chat mentioned earlier on, this was a 2-0 Kiana that when you get those early items, you can be very potent. And
that's going to be big damage. They don't have a wind wall to stop it. Easy pick-off for the side of SKT.
And we're just seeing clean execution from SKT. The coordination that we didn't seem to see last game is now coming through. And this change from Mata may have been everything that they needed.
The flash hook almost connects so incredibly close. And to further quote Jat from earlier, as long as we're taking turns doing Jat quotes, Kiana's OP when she's playing well. And Kiana is being played damn well by Faker. Surprise, surprise.
And he's now roaming all over the map. He doesn't need to have a high amount of CS if he's getting gold from killing the opponents. And I do want to spend a moment to credit Mata. This is such an unlikely substitution. When he got subbed in Game 3 of the Splice series, the consensus between most of us was, oh, that's just the skin game. Like, in case they're just going to give him one because they're not worried about losing this series in case they actually make it all the way to the World Finals. What this is effort looked really bad in Game 3, and SKT needed a lifeline. And so far, even though it is other members of SKT, we don't know what goes on in the comms. Mata is the second most experienced player on this SKT lineup to Faker. So it is a huge presence that he brings to the game that I think SKT is benefiting from in this Game 4.
And if he wins here, this would be his 50th international win for Mata. Historic player.
It's a lot of wins.
Yeah. Single-handedly redefined the vision game. Now might single-handedly redefine SKT's chances in this series. As G2 now move in. Mickey off to the side, trying to find the barrel. Forcing out the repel from Clay, but Perks is there as well. Now Wonders in the pinch. Caps is just getting cut down. The wind wall is not going to mean a thing. Tries to buy a bit more time. Here comes Faker on the backside. But he's caught up by the Olaf. Mickey now coming in. Faker trying to go in and finish it up, but the stopwatches are there. But no, SKT still able to find this fight. The knock-up coming through. Jankos runs for the hills, but it is not enough. Still, it's a back-and-forth fight. It's such a close fight. Caps manages to sidestep. Click goes in, but the body step comes out. Another stopwatch. Are you kidding me? The knock-up is there. The shutdown is there. A bloody fight in the mid lane.
G2's ability to out-teamfight SKT has been persistent throughout this series. There's probably about 15 really small interactions that happened in that fight that could have decided it, and G2 just had more of them.
That team fight was just a highlight reel condensed into 10 seconds. So many cool things happened that a single replay is not going to do it justice, but let's see what we can do. Mickey and Perks start off by coming in from the flank, and an immediate response from Clid avoids the initial engage.
I think the biggest thing, though, was Jankos v. Faker. Faker couldn't find access to the flank, which would have just destroyed G2 against the wall with the Kiana ultimate. In fact, he basically wins the 1v1 against Faker down bottom.
But look at the ultimate that came out from Ornn on the top side. He completely cut Teddy and Clid off from the fight, meaning that this was actually a 4 versus 3 for the vast majority of the game. Clid then tries to dive on top of Caps, and it wasn't enough because Caps immediately flashes out, sidestepping the Q. Mickey nearly dies. The stopwatch just before he falls. Oh my word, what a team fight.
Yeah, that's a 10.
Yeah, it was,
okay.
And Mata dies. Yeah, you cursed him.
Yeah, Gragas ultimate into death.
Wait, could this be Baron now?
They're
They
very
can think
strong.
about it.
You talked about this earlier, Veddies, but the wind wall from Yasuo is massive at taking the Baron, mitigates so much of the threat, so much of the damage. Might still want that cooldown in the fights to come, but oh, here comes the Ornn Horn. They're caught in the pinch. Mickey X can go forward. Faker invisible, wants to pull another grass play, but this is massive. The Vladimir trying to strike back, but Faker's ult is not going to be effective. Khan now has to run for his life. Perks and Caps are still alive. G2 get 2 free for nothing.
Faker missed his Kiana ultimate in the jungle. So Khan is the one who's able to pick up a fight, but G2 get another advantage.
And you can hear the crowd rallying behind G2. Yes, the early game was a little bit shaky. They found some advantages, they conceded some. But this team is momentum-based. When they hear the roar of it, you can just see them performing at their absolute peak. And chat, you said it. They are consistently out team fighting SKT. When I saw them in that jungle, I thought, oh, Faker's just gonna kill them all.
What? Mickey?
Ooh, it didn't come through. Mickey sidesteps, and now we reset once again. The gold is even once again.
Probably a blessing in disguise that didn't land for Mata, because Teddy and Mata were outnumbered if they would have gone into that jungle fight. But now, Faker back trying to push on mid-wave and SKT group around this Mountain Drake.
Do G2 have enough active members on the map to contest this Drake? I don't think it's the case. Mata waiting in the darkness. Jankos
Perks is
knows better than
resetting
to
as
step
well.
in.
SKT still have no control over Baron. So it's going to be really difficult for them to face check their way into this.
But this is where Kiana and Vladimir are at their most powerful. If they sniff out the G2 Baron and go into contest, it could be a one-shot kind of team fight. One shotgun shot to delete all of G2. But if they mess up, if they mis-execute, the Ornn will tear through this team.
Yeah. Beautiful pool. Good pool. Keep in mind, Windwall can also block Kiana ultimate, so Faker has to watch out for that.
Yeah, it can.
Flash in, just trying to get the knockup, forcing the flash away from Mata. G2 just playing for cooldowns at this point, but it's Faker on the flank. They're all grouped near that wall. He might snip out this juicy Keon ultimate. Eyes on Faker in the backside. Faker being zoned away once again by Jankos, and the rest of the fight is breaking out. Faker is doing nothing. Perks is getting another kill. They're dashing through the shutdown. He's trying to find the kill, but he can't get it back, and this is disastrous. Jankos took Faker out of the fight, but still, SKT win the 4v4. Wonder has to now run for his life. The Grass Blade zoning Mickey X away. Wonder will get taken down. This should be the Baron for the side of SKT. Wonder trying to buy as much time as he can, but it is not enough. That is the shutdown. SKT Baron in their sights.
And SKT successfully out-teamfight G2. The execution was not on point this time. They have 4 members alive. Mata is about to respawn. Can they steal this away, or will they concede it?
I mean, there is an ultimate for Jankos if we wanted to try.
G2 have yet to get a Baron this entire series. Is this the one that will turn it? Is this their Baron to get? Jankos with ultimate available. Won't get a chance. Delete it. Jankos next on the list. Caps TPing into his own death. SKT, though, pulling back, giving him that respect. Clit now stepping forward. Wow. Caps manages to find the knockback. Wants to finish off at least 1 kill. Will get the ultimate down to do so. The heal is not enough. But here comes Faker. Goes golden, but just gets to watch his own death in slow motion. Khan on a rampage.
And now it's G2 crumbling. They didn't even try to steal the Baron. They just let themselves get killed by Khan as the rest of SKT secured that objective. But let's look back at this initial fight.
All right, I was locked on Faker down bottom, and he got zoned out by Olaf. So we're not focusing on that. We're going to focus on the Vladimir, getting all of the damage onto Caps. I don't think Caps' stopwatch was back yet from the previous fight, and then the turret shot is what actually follows Perks throughout the rest of the fight.
But also, Wonder did not use his ultimate onto Teddy. He used it onto the Nautilus. They overcommitted onto killing Mata, and that is not the target that you can afford to try and shut down.
And just, we looked at the game state moments ago, it was this is even, this is dead, even, but now it's a 4K advantage to the side of SKT. They've got the Baron to back them up as well. Perks moving in on the top side. Another TP coming in. They're looking for a pick. Jankos is here too. Faker now retreating. Wonder stepping forward. This is a very fast Kiana. Caps on the way in. Faker should certainly go down here, but he's incredibly fast. The flash out, not enough. Caps sees it coming, uses the ult, and takes him out.
Again, Faker not in sync with the rest of SKT. This is the 4th game. SKT have had a Baron, a potential Baron power play, and then been unable to get their setup.
Uncharacteristic performance from Faker. Jack, you and I both expected extremely large things with the return of Faker to the World Championship. We both put him as #1 in our top 20. We both expected him to perform, and this series against one of the best teams in the world, he has made mistakes. Yes, he's had some fantastic plays.
That's a big miss.
But is the rest of SKT looking to fight?
Mickey potentially in trouble here.
I mean,
Caps coming in on the flank if he wants.
Khan is bottom.
Yeah.
Perks is split pushing. This is the type of thing that G2 has been perplexing SKT with. They're pressuring lanes that SKT doesn't expect them to pressure, so it's pushing them into odd decisions. This time, it looks like they've made a pretty good call to just continue pushing bottom lane, and now Khan resets, buys a pot. He's looking to try and find a massive team
He has a
fight.
death cap. He has a void staff. Khan is incredibly powerful. Not level 16 quite yet, but otherwise everything going in his favor. All the AP he could ever want on this Vladimir. SKT have the tools to win the fight. They just need to find one in their favor. For now, it is the name of the game is the Siege. Can G2 hold on? Only reliable way to clear is the Syndra. Perks can try to use the wind wall to buy a bit more time for mid lane tower.
Ornhorn is just back up now. Had been on cooldown.
Khan is using the double cannon minions bot lane to siege onto that tower. The brace is slowly being broken.
How about a third?
Jankos. Yeah, that was a pretty quick chunk. Khan still with the Crimson Rush up. They're going to force out the pool. Oh, the timing off. That's going to be disaster.
That's going to be another inhibitor tower going down.
Poke lands onto Wonder. Ulti's now going to come out. Khan still on the side. Khan still with ultimate up and available. Can't make his way into the back of this fight. Still, Mata goes forward. G2 is going to find 1 kill for now. The knock-up not quite there. Perks going in the midst of the team. Desperately wants to kill Teddy, but it's not going to be enough. He's trying to dash through, but they're burning him down. In the meantime, the fight is going back and forth. Teddy, he's trying. This is his moment. He wants to get the kill. Can he get it done? Teddy, he buys more time, but he cannot secure the win. Axe goes in. Jankos on the chase. When the combo's back up for Clit, he could look to turn and burn, but such a close exchange once again.
But G2 still win the fight. Perks is struggling to have an impact in this game, but Caps and Jankos are doing such a great job. this team fight ultimately becomes around whether or not they can shut Khan down. And initially, after missing that engage, it felt like that this could have been disaster for G2, but then the re-engage comes through.
Exactly, a very odd start with Mata dying, only getting an unfollowed up knock-up on Caps, and really, it's on Khan here. Mickey zones him as best he can, Faker gets an execute, and then here you're thinking, all right, can he absolutely get it done? And the stun timing by the rest of G2 just kind of shut him down. This is, it can't keep happening, you think, that SKT have a large goal lead, have a Drake advantage, have Baron, and get beaten to the setup by G2.
Caps was so good in that fight. The way in which his Q, E, electrocute combo pretty much one-shot Faker. That Kiana got obliterated, and because Khan used his pull early to avoid the stun, that then allowed Caps to use his ultimate onto the Vladimir. So these fights are so intense. We talked about how they're so execution-based.
And what is going through the heads of SKT right now? Because they felt like they were in control of Game 3. They were in control of this Game 4. And if they lose this one, their year is over. Faker would fail to make his first final at a World Championship. They can't tilt against this G2 team who just looks completely untiltable. They have been so good at playing from the back foot. SKT will have an advantage, and immediately, rather than G2 waiting for something bad to happen, they make something good happen for themselves.
Those years of EUS solo queue coming into fruition against the powerhouse that is SKT. The Baron will be spawning in 30 seconds. This could be the fight, the objective, the place that determines the outcome of this series.
The upgraded Zhonya is now coming in for Caps. One more level for Wonder, and he will be able to upgrade perks as well. Give him the Molten
on his own.
Mata isolated. Mata caught out. Windwall comes in to stop any fallout. Mata knocked back into the wall, but here comes a massive Ornn fallout. The support is dead, but now they can turn the fight. It's Khan on the flank. G2 need to get out of the pinch immediately, or they will go down. Mata's still alive. Mata is living through everything G2 have.
But SKT used the Varus and the Nautilus ultimate there, so it was just a 2-for-2 trade with the reset. The Baron setup continues.
The cooldown on Wonder's ultimate is at 45 seconds. That's going to be more than enough time for Mata to go back to base, reset, back out onto the map. He'll also be restocked on all of that vision. And the pings are coming down from Mata right now. He's saying, Ornn ult is down, Ornn ult is down. Let's look for a fight because this is the best shot that we've got.
Caps at 50% mana should be fine for the fight to come, but Faker running forward. This is the movement speed of that Kiana. Can run fearlessly into the front line. Has to respect Caps, though. A single stun could result in the death.
Ornn upgrades also making G2 more powerful. 3,000 gold of value given just by Ornn being level 16.
Perks. Windwall comes out, but it's not going to stop the ultimate from going in. Perks has to flash out to safety. Mana hits the wall, not quite what he wants, but Khan steps forward. That's the ulti down. That's the ulti down. Now G2 can look to turn the fight. Khan, huge healing coming back. On the back end of that ultimate. Faker now steps forward. Faker now gets taken out. Faker, no! Faker is dead! What was that? Now the rest of the team stepping forward. G2 looking to close this fight out. Perks throwing the Windwall over. Tornado comes in, Windwall the block. Clid now taken down. This should be G2's first Baron of the series if they can find it. Clid deleted. Caps unstoppable. G2 on the cusp of making it to finals.
Faker dies in what was the most important team fight of this series. The Baron is in the eyes of G2. The smite is not available. G2 Esports come back once again. They will secure their first Baron of the series, and SKT is now on the back foot.
Comeback after comeback for G2, and again, Faker can't find what he needs. He flashes for it. The roof, the roof gets blocked. Yes, it's stunned, but the burst is decreased.
Yes.
And the Sterics also keep him alive. But then, on the backside, Khan was ready to follow up with a full engage. Now that they're down both ultimates, SKT have to run away, and G2, they got the Ornn Horde. They're ready to go back for it. Faker is trapped. He's down flash. He tries to go invisible, but he can't get out.
Faker had no escape options. His flash was down. He wanted to re-engage, but his team was not there. And you could see the frustration. His hands are shaking. He realizes the consequences of his actions. And and now it is G2 with the Baron buff. There is still a lot of SKT's base that they have to go through. By no means does this mean that the game is won. All it means is that the game goes back to even.
But it can be won with one good team fight. G2 have been the ones preventing SKT from converting their Baron power plays. Now they can convert their own. They have the Ornn, they have the Gragas, they have so many initiation tools. And SKT have just been out of sorts. They're throwing ultimates left, sideways, unable to connect on this beautiful team of G2, as now G2 try and make it to the finals.
Pressure mounting, Perks bringing in the minions in the mid lane. Faker waiting in the darkness, hoping to get something done. Youmuu's popped. We'll be able to back away, though. Using the Edge of Night as well, not ideal. Would have liked to have that in a fight with Caps in the future, but just hoping, desperately hoping to get that pick onto Perks. The cusp of elimination for SKT. FPX, G2, SKT, those were the favorites. One of them will go home today. Perks pushes in, he breaks the tier 2. This could be the final fight. Khan zooming in, he has the home guards. He's ready to go at a moment's notice. For now, just trying to clear the waves.
And SKT doesn't even have flank wards. They kind of just have to sit here and absorb G2 and hope they don't get engaged on, because a straightforward initiation doesn't work into Ornn and a Yasuo wind wall.
The pull just gets used from Khan. He's back to base. This is going to mean that the bot tower is exposed. G2 are going to be able to break into the base. Bear in mind, they have 2 exposed inhibitors themselves. If SKT find a big fight, they're looking for Perks.
Faker fishing for the flank. Windwall comes through. Perks still alive right in the midst of the Windwall. Just needs to back up a little bit, trying to dash through. That's the knockup. He could get the reset, but no. Mistiming, misexecution from G2 costs him his life. That's the shutdown. Now they have to retreat. Now Khan can hunt, can look for that fight, but instead SKT will just call a stop to the action.
So Perks gives up his life, but it does mean that G2 can secure the bot in him. The question is, with 5 members alive for SKT, and with a 40-second death timer on Perks, can SKT convert this into inhibitors of their own?
Can they convert it into an end? Their team fight is incredibly strong.
Look at this as well. They're doing the mountain to open up the Elder Drake as a potential win condition. We've seen G2 win every single one of these fights, which means that if they can force a fight around this Elder, this time they should be able to win.
G2 can now step forward, but it's Faker once again waiting in the darkness. Grass Blade, not the Water Blade, but out comes the Ornn Horn. Caps fishing for 1 or 2 picks. They might not want to take the fight, but they do. They're still going to go in 4v5, trying to peel away. Faker waiting, trying to find an opportunity to go over the wall. The Varsalt is not going to connect. It hits, but it will not secure any follow-up.
Keep an eye on the Capstun. Ooh, he messes up the execution.
Baits it out, though. Clint had to go up into the air, and it doesn't matter if he messed it up because Clint is still going to go down, but Khan right to the backside. Caps goes golden. There's no one else to follow up. Khan's damage doesn't matter. But the ulti comes out. It's such a close exchange. For now, they're winning, but Perks is coming in. This is his hero moment. If he wants to turn this fight in favor of team, this could be the game.
He gets the
defining moment. Faker is gone.
again.
Teddy's next on the list. There's no way he can duel the Yasuo. Amada's coming in, but he's just walking into the meat grinder of Perks. Khan, can he do it? It's not enough. They've done it. They're going to G2. Khan, can he get it done? He can't. The Vladimir. They can't do it. This is it. The greatest team in the history of League of Legends, taken down by the greatest team Europe has ever produced. FPX, get ready. G2 is heading to Paris.